coming to you live from Angkasa Puri. I'm Rene Fong and this is Updates at Noon. Making the headlines today, Student Council's views will be considered in fight against inflation. Flying instructor killed in plane crash. The Special Task Force on Jihad Against Inflation will conduct engagement sessions with student leaders at institutes of higher learning to listen to their views on rising prices of products as well as inflation, especially relating to their standard of living. Task Force Chairman Tan Sri Anwar Musa said this was because the government understood that the campus community and students are among groups considered vulnerable and easily affected by inflation as well as rising prices of goods. Elaborating further, Tan Sri Anwar said Datuk Sri Mustafa Muhammad, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Economy, will conduct a program for continuous engagement that will be carried out together with student leadership in public and private universities. He said the task force has identified around 80 universities that have student bodies that will also be involved in the engagement program. Tan Sri Anwar, who is also Communications and Multimedia Minister, said the task force thanked the Ministry of Higher Education for the many steps taken, including implementing the cooked food at RM3.50 scheme at over 800 canteens and premises on campuses in the country. He said that at the same time, the Communications and Multimedia Ministry, KCOM, needed to see the use of certain technology to further strengthen data protection. Besides data protection, the ministry is also focused on rampant fraudulent scams that cause significant losses. The Johor State Government has set a sales revenue target of 20 million ringgit for the 4-day Johor International Islamic and Halal Festival, FIJO 2022, to be held from 29th September to 2nd October at the Johor Posada International Convention Centre. State Youth, Sports, Entrepreneur Development, Cooperatives and Human Resource Committee Chairman Muhammad Hairi Mat Shah said the event will strengthen Johor's capabilities as a player in the global halal industry. Muhammad Hairi said the state managed to record sales revenue of 7 million ringgit from FIJO 2019, and this year's edition will be on a grander scale with the targeted visitors of 150,000 and sales revenue of 20 million ringgit. He said FIJO 2022 will have a total of 300 exhibitor lots, and so far, more than 70% have been booked by local and foreign entrepreneurs. He also hoped the local halal industry players will leverage the current vibrant halal market environment and help the Johor government to nurture a bigger community of halal entrepreneurs. FIJO 2022 involves 8 exhibitor clusters, namely information and telecommunications technology, government agencies, food technology, finance and e-commerce, industry and machinery, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics and fashion, tourism and education. The festival brings together halal and Sharia-compliant entrepreneurs from Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, the United Kingdom and several West Asian countries. Malaysia has agreed in principle to implement minimum global tax of 15% on certain multinational companies, MNCs. Inland Revenue Board, IRB, Chief Executive Officer Datuk Muhammad Nizam Sairi said Malaysia is among 136 countries announced by the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, previously as being ready to undertake reform in the global taxation system. The international taxation system reform is expected to be implemented from 2023 globally, and Malaysia will abide by the decision made at the OECD level, he added. He said Malaysia is actively involved in the working group discussions to ensure the interests of developing economies such as Malaysia are not left out of the policies made by OECD. He said the implementation of the tax system is to make sure business entities pay their taxes fairly to the host host countries and avoid tax leakages. To ensure the MNCS pay taxes accordingly, the IRB will develop a comprehensive strategy to address global tax compliance risk, besides urging the companies to be more transparent, he said. The IRB is also monitoring the MNCS operating in Malaysia and local companies operating in foreign countries to identify whether there is the occurrence of transfer pricing. Transfer pricing is the price determined for transactions made between two or more related entities within the organization of various companies. A flying instructor died while another was injured in a light aircraft crash at Jalan Dr. Nazrin Shah, Sungai Rokam, Medan Gopeng in Ipoh last night. The dead victim was identified as Fajim Jufa Mustafa Kamal, 52, of Semenyih, Selangor, and the injured victim was Muhammad Din Fikri Zainal Abidin, 62, of Bukit Damansara, Kuala Lumpur. Perak Police Chief Datuk Mio Faridala Trash Wahid said police received a call on the incident at about 8:10 p.m. An initial investigation found the two flying instructors took off from the flying school located nearby. He said the two victims were believed to be in the Piper 28 plane and the weather was fair during the incident. He added that the Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, CAAM, will be conducting an investigation on the cause of the crash. The Perak Police Chief noted that said the injured victim and the body of Fajim Jufa were brought to Raja Permaisuri Bainun Hospital here for further action. It was learned that the flying company Bats Aviation had contacted the families of the victims involved in the incident. Meanwhile, Datuk Mio Faridala Ratrash said police arrested 4 foreign men yesterday for suspected involvement in the murder of a foreign man at a house in Buntong on Sunday. He said the suspects aged between 33 to 46 who were related to the victim were detained at 1:15 p.m. yesterday. Commenting further through a statement release, Datuk Mio Faridala Trash said the police received a report from a man, 40, that his brother, 37, was found unconscious at a house at 9:20 a.m. on Sunday. Preliminary investigations at the scene of the incident revealed that the victim was unconscious on the floor with a pillow and blanket and was confirmed dead by medical officers, and the case was classified as a sudden death. Datuk Mio Faridala Trash said the autopsy subsequently revealed that the victim died due to injuries to his abdominal area inflicted by a blunt object. He added that the case was then reclassified under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder. He noted that police also found a steel hammer believed to be the murder weapon, adding that the suspects would be brought to the Ipoh Magistrates Court to be remanded today. Coming up in sports, Siti Zalina put Semi's defeat behind to rake in lawn bowl singles bronze. Stay with us. National lawn bowls veteran Siti Zalina Ahmad, who won the first of 2 gold medals in women's singles 16 years ago, was back on the medal trail when she downed Norfolk Island's Shea Wilson for bronze in the Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games last night. The 43-year-old bounced back from the disappointment of a semi-final defeat to beat Wilson 21-10 in the third-placing match at Victoria Park, Livingston Spa.
Play on a normal rink, and I say normal.
Siti Zalina had earlier lost 21-15 to Lucy Beer of Guernsey in the semi-final. Australia's Alan Ryan clinched the gold medal after defeating Beer at 21-17 in the final. Siti Zalina now has 4 medals from the Commonwealth Games, having won the singles gold twice in the 2002 edition in Manchester, England, and the 2006 edition in Melbourne, Australia. She also won gold in the women's pairs event with Emma Firiana Saroji in the 2018 edition in Gold Coast, Australia. Siti Zalina and Emma Firiana will be in action later today as they seek to defend their women's pairs title. Singapore once again proved to be a stumbling block for Malaysian women paddlers when the Lions swept to a 3-0 win in the women's team final. The result of the final match held in the National Exhibition Centre Hall 3 saw Singapore land their first ever gold of the Games, while Malaysia had a bitter pill to swallow as they had also failed to avenge the 0-3 defeat suffered at the Glasgow 2014 final and thus had to be satisfied with their second silver. The Malaysian pair comprising Karen Lin and Ho Ying had a good start as they won the first set 11-7. The duo, however, failed to keep things tight against Zheng Jian, Zhao Jingyi, who fought back to win the next 3 sets 11-4, 11-5, 11-6. In the singles, Singapore's Feng Tianwei thumped Alice Chung Lee Hsien 11-9, 11-1, 11-7 in straight sets to put their team 2-0 ahead and closer to the gold medal. After losing the first 2 sets to Jian 3-11, 4-11, Ying showed a glimmer of hope to get the national team back on track by winning the third set 11-8. However, Ying failed to rise to the occasion and succumbed to a 5-11 defeat in the fourth set. The win saw Singapore clinch their 5th gold medal in the women's team event since the sport was first contested in Manchester 2002 Commonwealth Games, while Malaysia secured their 2nd silver medal for the same period. Meanwhile, Australia took the bronze medal after crushing Wales 3-0. In another event, Muhammad Fadil Muhammad Zonis made sure the national track cycling team end their campaign in the Commonwealth Games in a slightly upbeat mood when he finished 10th out of 20 riders in men's 1,000-metre time trial at the Lee Valley Velio Park, London.
Really deep breaths because as they accelerate.
Although he tried his best, Muhammad Fadil could only manage to clock 1 minute, 1.734 seconds, thus failing to better his own national record of 1 minute, 0.305 seconds that he had set in the World Championships in Germany 2 years ago. His teammate, Muhammad Ridwan Shahrum, came in 14th overall in the event after clocking 1 minute, 3.093 seconds. Australian Matthew Gletzer recorded 59.505 seconds to clinch gold, followed by compatriot Thomas Cornish and Trinidad and Tobago's Nicholas Paul. Meanwhile, 2 national women cyclists, Anis Amira Rosidi and rising star Nurul Izzah Izzati Muhammad Asri, bowed out in the first round of the Keirin event. Anis Amira finished 4th in Heat 1 while Nurul Izzah ended up 5th in Heat 2. As the curtain comes down on track cycling, yesterday's result meant that the Malaysian riders only have a bronze to show for, courtesy of Muhammad Shafirdau Shahrum in the men's Keirin event on Saturday.
They're undone by the Australians' finishing speed.
Youth and Sports Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Faizal Azumu, meanwhile, has lauded the strong performances shown by the Malaysian contingent at the Commonwealth Games. He said he was extremely proud of the Commonwealth weightlifting champion, Muhammad Anik Kasdan, who claimed Malaysia's first gold at the Games this year despite having no target set for this event.
From the errors.
Datuk Sri Ahmad Faizal said this excellent momentum must be kept going, especially after the second goal claimed by Muhammad Aznil Bidin, followed by a silver by Muhammad Eri Hidayat.
Saya percaya momentum yang dibawa oleh pemain atlet-atlet angkat berat kita ni akan dapat memberi dorongan kepada atlet-atlet dalam sukan lain untuk memberi persembahan yang terbaik dan saya harap banyak lagi pingat emas dapat kita capai selepas ni.
The minister said this during a dinner event in conjunction with the Perak Amateur Golf Open held in Perak Royal Golf Club in Ipoh. Sprinter Muhammad Azim Muhammad Fahmi broke the national 100-metre record with 10.09 seconds at the Under-20 World Athletics Championships at the Pascual Guerrero Olympic Stadium in Cali, Colombia, early today, Malaysia time. The 18-year-old runner erased the old record of 10.18 seconds set by former Southeast Asia sprint champion Khairul Hafiz Jantan and the 2016 Malaysian Games Sukma in Kuching, Sarawak. Muhammad Azim's record of 10.09 seconds in Heat 8 saw him emerging the first runner to cross the finishing line, surprising 19-year-old Japanese athlete Hiroki Yanagita, who finished second with a time of 10.24 seconds. Muhammad Azim and Yanagita each confirmed their spot in the semi-finals, scheduled to take place tomorrow. Meanwhile, only 19-year-old Botswana Letsile Tebogo, who ran in Heat 3, recorded a faster time than Muhammad Azim after breaking the championship record with a time of 10 seconds. Meanwhile, the 100-meter and 200-meter gold medalist at the 31st SEA Games in Hanoi, Vietnam, Puripol Bonsun from Thailand, won in Heat 6 with a time of 10.20 seconds to confirm his place in the semi-finals. Muhammad Azim is fielded in the U20 World Athletics Championships as the fourth fastest youth in Asia in 100 meters and 200 meters events based on his records until last July. Based on the records of the 2022 season, Yanagita is the fastest with a time of 10.16 seconds, followed by Bunsun Wang Shuang of China and Muhammad Azim in the fourth place with a record of 10.28 seconds, which was recorded at the Para All-Comers Athletics Championship last June. Eight-time consecutive champions Johor Darul Takzim JDT continued to dominate the Super League after thrashing Kuala Lumpur KLCT FC 5-0 at Sultan Ibrahim Stadium Iskandar Putri last night. Striker Bergson da Silva opened accounts with a penalty conversion in the 6th minute after Fernando Martin Forestieri was brought down by KL City defender Giancarlo Gallifuco before scoring his second of the match in the 25th minute. JDT then blazed ahead in the second half with another penalty conversion by Leandro Sebastian Valacuez after Arif Aiman Muhammad Hanapi was fouled by Muhammad Anwar Ibrahim. JDT then slotted in their fourth goal in the 71st minute courtesy of Argentinian Fernando Martin Forestieri before ending the match 5-0 when Muhammad Safawi Rashid scored 12 minutes later. 5-0 thrashing is Hector Pablo Bidoglio's first victory as head coach after replacing Benjamin Mora.
Y lo vamos a tomar con la seriedad que se merece, sabiendo que es un partido que tenemos que salir a ganarlo, a ser protagonista y a tratar de seguir creciendo.
That concludes updates at noon. A reminder of our top story: Student Council's views will be considered in fight against inflation. Tune in to News at 10, coming up at 10 p.m. on saluran Berita RTM. Let us symbolize our spirit of patriotism and proudly fly the Jalo Gemilang as a gesture of our love for the country to live in this year's National Month celebrations. I'm Renee Fong, Salam Keluarga Malaysia. Have a great day ahead. Malaysiaku, lihatlah kita, wahai bangsaku.
Setiap jiwa pasti bangga atas nama bangsa Malaysia. Sekian lama merdeka, tertumpahnya cinta. Usia kita makin dewasa, berkali-kali kita dipuji kasih.